And cool. And I was essentially, told my schedule. And as I did with this, did with Eric, I got sent a private GitHub invite, repository invite, 1 minute before I started the talk. And so I hadn't even like joined the repository yet. And that's where we began. So we just did formal introductions and got to chat for a couple minutes. And then he said, okay, like clone down the repo and let's start trying to solve some test cases. An interesting thing, you can use Google. You can use any tool that you would use on your job. Oh, did I lose everybody?
Nope.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. All right. So you can use any tool that you would use on your job. And I'm here to bounce ideas off and help you if you get stuck, kind of arrive at problems just like a driver would or a navigator would. And yeah, so if you want to go ahead and get started and just open that GitHub repo and share the README, and then from there we can begin. The thing I will say is, like, we could just open this whole thing up to the mob. We don't have to mute mics tonight. So, like, rather than just Eric and me, we can all try to solve it together.
All right. Well, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, all clear.
All right. Saw some head nods. Cool. So I'm reading this for the first time. So read along with me. Simple database challenge. In the simple database problem, you'll implement an in-memory key value database similar to Redis. For simplicity's sake, instead of dealing with I/O, thank goodness, you only need to implement the internal functionality as if it were a database library. So guidelines. We've got 45 minutes to work on our implementation. We'll get as far as we can and be prepared to discuss our approach and how we would complete the exercise afterward. A suggested approach is to copy and paste a single unit test function at a time and get it to pass. The database accepts the following commands to operate on keys. We can set a name to a value, set the variable name to the value. For simplicity, value may be an integer. Okay. Get name prints out the value of the variable name, or null if that variable is not set. Unset name unsets the variable name, making it just like that variable was never set. Okay. So we've got inputs, outputs here. Okay, so looks like we are expecting some command line inputs, maybe.
So we will just execute. There's a test file. So there's I think a simple db.py and a simple db test.py, and you'll just execute. You'll write code in the simple db.py, and then you'll just execute. So Python, simple db test.py, and it'll run your tests. It'll run your code through the tests.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't have to do any like CLI stuff here.
But yeah, no CLI work.
Woohoo. All right. So there are also some transaction commands. In addition to the above data commands, your program should also support database transactions by also implementing these commands. Begin opens a new transaction block. A transaction can be nested. A begin can be issued inside of an existing block. Roll back, undo commands issued in the current transaction and closes it, returns an error if no transaction is in progress. Commit, close all open transactions, permanently applying the changes made in them. Returns an error if no transaction is in progress. Okay. Any data command that is run outside of a transaction should commit immediately. Here's some example command sequences. Okay, so we should expect to be able to set, get, and unset as just like, call the function, it runs transactions, build up a transaction, and then when we can either roll back all or part
Right.
of,
And
that transaction, or we can commit all of the transaction.
for anybody unfamiliar with the database side of things, a transaction is just like a series of operations that you're going to do in the database. And they are, I'll give an example. Say you had 2 bank accounts and you wanted to transfer money from bank account A to bank account B. So say you wanted to transfer $10. Well, first you would have to remove $10 from bank account A, and then you would have to add $10 to bank account B, right? And then you would have to update the balance of A and update the balance of B. And after, you would want to do that in at least 2 steps, right? You'd want to take money from A, and that would be a commit or part of a transaction. Then you'd want to add money to B, and that would be a commit or part of a transaction. And then if either one of those failed, you wouldn't want to apply any of the changes, right? Because if you try to take money from A and then it never makes it to B, then you wouldn't want the money to just be gone from A and floating in limbo, right? So you'd want to roll back the entire series of commits, if you will. And that's sort of what a transaction is functionally.
Right. Yeah. Because you don't want to like take money away from A and then get interrupted and B never sees it. And then that $10 just disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay. And then there just here are some examples of that. So you can set, get. Oh, and this is begin. So that starts the transaction, that starts another transaction. You can roll back this one. So this A is never set to 20. And so when you get A again, it's the 10 that you originally set it to. You can roll back and get A.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you want let's whiteboard it, I guess. I feel like that'd probably be a good idea, right?
Yeah.
I think on all fronts, that might be it.
So I think the most
That
challenging
transaction that we're looking, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Does that need the same number of ends as begins? It has 2 begins and 1 end.
That would be a nested transaction.
So I think so there was the first begin that started the first transaction. The second begin started the second transaction. The rollback undid the second transaction, and then the second rollback undid the first transaction, and end you're just saying done. So end just says done. I think wherever you say end, that is just ended. So I don't think there has to be a match between begin and end, right?
Is there confusion about they say commit in the instructions, but then we're using end? Is that the same thing?
No. No, I think commit basically I think saves it. End, I think the end basically ends that session. You're done here.
Well, yeah, but commit closes all the. I wonder if there's a mistake because they don't tell you in the instructions what end means, but they have something called commit that I don't see in any of the examples.
Could be. No, but you also see.
Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. Okay. Yep. My bad.
And I think basically just says that you're done. We're done. The test is done. I think that's more like an indicator for the test.
Right.
So
that's how I'm reading it.
Cool. And then commit. Oh yeah, there's a lot of commit. And then, so what does commit do exactly? Could we review that?
It saves it.
It closes all transactions, permanently applying the changes made in them. Okay. So it like kind of so like committing on GitHub. It's like it's all up. That whole thing is kind of cleared off and committed, saved.
Yeah, you could think about it like Git, right? Yeah. Like so, if you had a whole bunch of unsaved changes. And then you decided to locally commit them you can reset. Well, first of all, you can reset uncommitted things, and you can also, roll back committed things if you want to think about it like that. Yeah.
So you can roll back a commit like you do.
Yeah, maybe that was a bad example. You're not intended to roll back a commit
Okay.
to a database. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once you've done it, you've done it.
Right.
Yeah, commit is like a save. You're saying save it. So whatever is there, if you had like here it said begin set A to 30. If I'd done a set B to 10, set C to something, and I said commit, it would save the values for A, B, and C. At least that's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like these first set of commands are going to be pretty straightforward. Watch me prove myself wrong. And that this is going to be the trickier bit.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do we want to just go ahead?
I think that begin rollback thing is going to be like you'll have to keep track of the state, what the current state of the variables is, what is it currently, and all of that.
So let's see here. We've got, just to take a look at the test, because I always like to look at tests, right? So we've got testing and unset. So this just does a set and an unset. So, I mean, I'm proposing that we go ahead and try to pass this first test.
I agree. I think that's a good approach.
So let's see what we can do with that then. We'll scroll down just a little bit so we can keep that in view.
Eric, you have any kind of data structure or default data type that you want to use here? Like, are you going to use arrays, map? What do you have in mind to start with?
I mean, I'm thinking we keep an internal Python dictionary.
Right? Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the map dictionary. Yeah, that's what.
I think that sounds like a good approach. You got key value pairs,
Exactly.
Yep. So let's see, because I'm so good at Python here.
So yeah, delete the pass and then self dot whatever the name of the variable that you want. We call it dictionary or DB. Yeah. And then
is that?
Yeah, that works.
All right. First step.
Cool.
And then setting a value in a dictionary for Python is just self.db key equals value? Question mark?
That's right.
All right. We're batting 1,000 here, guys. And then we want to do unset.
And get. It looks like get is also in that first test.
Oh, is it? Oh, you're right. It is. All right. Well, let's do that then. And that's just going to be self.db key. Oh, and Python requires a return, right?
Yeah. Good.
Now, I'm seeing in my comments here that Git should raise a key error if the key doesn't exist. Is it going to do that for me automatically, or do I need to do that explicitly?
Yeah. So I asked the same question. So it will do that automatically. But I was instructed that explicit is better than implicit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
check it explicitly.
So then
plus I think, what does it say? Key error if the key does not exist. So the key can be null. So I can say get null. Or I think that is what it would be, right? If the key does not exist, I'm in essence checking for that. Yeah. Okay.
So like if for Python, this would be like if not key in self.db.
yeah, that could work.
And then I can just do arrays key error.
Yeah.
Just need an argument.
No.
Will you have to import the class? the exceptions class or something, or is it implicit?
No, this is a built-in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I use my lifeline here, right? So
Yeah, you got Google.
lifeline, raise key error. Zoom in a little bit. Stack Overflow, you can't beat it. Okay. And it looks like we did it right.
Yeah.
Cool. And we can do an error message there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just say he does not exist or something.
Can we do this? Can we be fancy? Like
Yeah.
I think you can. Yeah. As long as it's a string.
Database.
Right
And
on.
I guess I should probably do a second line now that I'm running over.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. That should probably work.
Yeah. All right, let's
then
try unset. Yeah.
Unset. And you also complete unset.
So let's see. This is one I don't remember. So let's try our handy dandy Google. Delete
I think you just had to say key equal to null.
from Python.
I think.
Dict. Well, now
Or
I
do
know
you
I
have
could
to
set
do-
it to be none, but I want to say that I remember there being an actual like delete
There is.
command that just completely removes it.
There's a del.
There we go. Let's see here. We could pop it. That's interesting. And then del. Okay, del, and it's just the dictionary and then the key.
Yeah.
So del self.db key.
Yeah, check if the key exists or no need.
What does it do? Let's try that out actually. We'll say x equals a1
Nice.
del xb. Oh, we get a key error.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I don't think it said in our intro like
It's
what we
not.
should do if we try to unset a key that doesn't exist.
I think that's, since it's given, it's kind of, it does say implicitly. I think get is more. Yeah, okay. Go on.
So I mean, I don't know. I'm with you guys though. I feel
No,
like
it's okay. Yeah, no, just let's go ahead and run the test. I think this looks fine. If you just
There
want
we
to be safe, yeah.
cool. That looks good. Let's try it.
Let's see.
So did we pass the first test? Fail, error, and then we got a dot.
You got a dot. So it would be nice if it was, yelled pass, but it doesn't.
No.
Yeah, go ahead and comment off all the other tests except the first one.
Yeah. Failed, 3 failures, 2 errors. But there were 6 tests, so that means we passed 1.
Right.
And I
Right
don't
on.
see the first one here, so I'm assuming that's the right one.
Yeah, I think you're good.
Woohoo! All right. So guys, we
Nice.
did the very easiest part.
Okay. So now let's look at test 2.
So let's see here.
They are
they in order?
not necessarily. Let's go down a little bit.
Okay. So there's a nested commit,
Nested commit.
transaction interleaved keys, transaction rollback unset, transaction commit unset.
Yeah, so maybe we do want to just do number 2 next.
Let's see what is number 2 do for us? So in number 2, we set, oh, we begin, we set, we roll back, we roll back. Okay.
So they basically want to see when you do two begins and you do a rollback, the second begin should go off. When you do the get, you get the value of the first one. I think, yeah. So you're setting 8 to 10, then you're starting another setting 8 to 20, and then you're doing a rollback, and then you're getting it. So you need to get that first one, 10. And after that, you do a rollback, and then you should get a key error. Okay, makes sense. This makes sense.
Yep. So, like, looking at the way this works, I mean, it looks like, and this is a little bit counterintuitive, for me at least, and it may be obviously everybody else, but like you're starting the transaction, you're setting a value, and that value is actually set. So it's not like waiting until you commit to do the set. It's going ahead and doing it, but
Yeah.
it's giving you the option to roll it back later.
Yeah.
So I think in that case, like we probably want to store some sort of nested data structure of what we've done
Right.
so that we can start peeling that back.
Right. So what is a better data structure? So right now we have a dictionary. How could we essentially give ourselves what type of data structure could we use to give ourselves the flexibility to add more than one value to that data structure?
Thinking maybe a stack would work in this scenario.
Yeah. A stack sounds like a good idea.
Could have the dictionaries in there.
Yeah. So what is a stack?
Yeah.
So
Or what's a core
pancake
functionality?
stack, I think about it, right? So as you add items to the stack, they go to the top of the stack.
Right.
And then
First in.
I'm sorry?
First in, last out, right?
Yep, first in, last out. That's the terminology right there.
Right. Yeah. So like a Python list is there's a method with a Python list that gives you stack-like functionality, and it's just pop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So if you pop a value, it will just remove the last one.
Yeah, and that's going to be, well, I guess I'm thinking ahead. I'll stop.
Yeah.
And just go with where we are. So because this is Python and there are no types or anything, I don't actually need to change this at all to just do different stuff with my dictionary.
Right.
No, but you'll have to create a list and add that dictionary to the list, right? If that is what you plan on doing.
Well, not.
Or do we only want to do that when we actually do it, or we do it whenever begin is called?
Or do we look at the rest of the test cases? Because I think already it's not behaving like what I would have thought it would have behaved like. Like I would have thought that if I hit begin and then I tried to access that value, if I hadn't committed the value, I would not get that value back. So maybe it's worth looking at just jumping ahead on the test cases to see what else it's doing that might be unexpected. I don't know, just a suggestion, because I guess I would be concerned about running out of time, and then going one route and then you're like, oh man, snap, this thing doesn't pass this test down here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, definitely. So I think, one thing that was made clear to me is that the thought process was valued. However, obviously finishing was important too, because or making it farther than I did, because I did not finish and I did not pass. So that's a perfectly valid approach, I think.
How much were you able to get done?
I'll tell you at the end.
Fair, yeah.
Fair enough.
I can guarantee it was more than we've done so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Dennis, let me tell you what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and again, I may be thinking too far ahead here, but like I can foresee that I need to be able to handle like a general case, right? Where I mean, like our test right here is we begin, we set, then we get, then we begin, then we set, then we get, then we roll back, right? But like theoretically, I would need to be able to begin a transaction, start deleting keys out, and then roll that back.
Yeah.
Right? So that's not just like adding new values and then checking with the knowledge that at some point in the future, I'm going to, you know, I'm either going to get rid of it or check for it, right? Like I may be getting rid of things that are already there, and I would need to keep up with what that was in order to add it back.
Right.
My like possibly over-engineered thought here is that what I might want to do instead of just having like the single dictionary as my data structure is essentially just like a tree of dictionaries.
Yeah.
With like, I don't know, like a commit ID.
Right. I think that sounds pretty reasonable. Right? Because like if you have a nested transaction, like you're going to need to only undo that part, you know?
Right.
So begin. So fortunately, Python data structures are like real flexible, right? They don't, like dictionaries don't care if the keys are all the same thing or what. So it would seem reasonable that every time a begin statement occurs, you start a new dictionary, right?
Right.
And every time a rollback occurs, you undo, you know, do you want to undo that dictionary or do you want to do?
So I think, I mean, probably the like the simplest way I can think of to do this is to back our simple DB with a data structure that's like, you know, like I said, like a dictionary of dictionaries, where each dictionary, or maybe I would want to do like some kind of object, right? Where each one represents a like a snapshot of the dictionary.
Yeah.
With that commit.
Right.
And then I would just want to keep track of like, you know, a commit ID.
Right.
As
yeah.
my current like commit. And that way, like if I go to get something, then I just go, you know, down to that branch, that leaf of the tree, and I pull the information from there. And you know, when we do like a commit, we just go find that leaf and make that the new dictionary, the new DB.
Right.
And just move forward with that and just throw the rest of it away.
Right.
Which would be like a terrible idea in a real database, right? Because that would be a huge amount of data.
Yeah. And there are trade-offs, right? You know? So It's
And again, I think in the interview, like Dennis was saying earlier, you got to get it working. It doesn't matter what approach you're taking right now. If it works and it passes your test, good. After that, they're obviously going to ask you those questions. What do you think are the trade-offs? And that you
Right.
can worry about them. So right now,
Right.
if you think that approach is going to work, go on. Remember, we're already almost 40 minutes in.
Yeah, and so Eric, there's no reason that you cannot create a second object in the init, right?
That's true.
Like a self dot. Exactly.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
There we go. And then I think
So,
like I would want a class for this.
Yeah. Fine.
We do
And then in addition, you also need to know what type of transactions being the type of operation that was done, right? Because if you deleted, wait, it just has a set and get.
I think like that's how we'll know what's been done, right? Is what's in that transaction.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess I can Google here. Python built in UUID. Is that a thing?
yeah, there is a built-in UUID. Yeah. I think it's import UUID and yeah, UUID.
Yeah, there it is. It's in the language. That's what I would like to use for an ID.
Yeah. That works.
And this can be, how do we create one? UUID. Oh, wrong thing. There we go.
I guess question, playing the devil's advocate a bit, but do we need ID in this scenario? Because it doesn't look like we're, I guess, how does that help us? I guess I didn't understand either the using the tree approach. Like,
I think
So-
it's basic.
I wonder if I can, oh, I bet I don't have it.
Eric, you're planning on initializing this whenever in begin, right? Whenever begin gets called, you initialize the transactions, get the UUID, and whatever you have in your DB so far, you put it in that transaction. Or were you thinking of something else?
Right. So, and again, I think I'm probably overthinking this a little bit, right? But like, let's say, oh, that's a terrible color. Let's do this. Let's say like this is our database, right? And at some point you begin a transaction. And so now you've got like a copy of the database that has that transaction completed. And then you know, maybe go forward and you have another copy. Now, the thing I don't see is like, it says they're nested. I don't see any operation that I would actually make my transactions look like this.
Yeah.
yeah, they just go down.
Now, if you
Yeah,
do
scroll
begin
down a little
inside-
bit.
if you do multiple begins, then they become nested, right?
I know.
If you do a begin, commit, begin, rollback, begin, you're kind of doing nested there.
Right. Look at plant leave. Yeah.
So let's see.
This is where your tree might begin, right?
So
So
begin.
yeah, you've got A, you've got
Set A, begin, set B, rollback. Yeah, but like that still looks like a stack of database states,
Okay.
right? Like here you've got the one, which is the base. And then here you add one to it. And then here you add a third one. And here you just get rid of the third one. And then you get rid of the second one.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, I don't see any support for like going back up the tree and like,
Right.
Yeah, I think you'll only go down, and then the cool thing I think
yeah.
is you can, once you pop those things, you don't even care about them anymore. Once they
Right.
roll back,
Yeah.
and then you just need to move stuff from the bottom. I guess which way are we looking at the bottom? I guess the first transaction is there. So if you move into the second transaction and you commit that, then it's got to bubble back to the first one, the first level.
Right. Which means whoever said we probably don't need an ID is right. Because
I think it was Robert.
we know if we try to roll back, it's always going to be the last one. It's never going to be like one out of the middle.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was my idea, like for why I would want the ID is like if I want to roll back one that's like in the middle of some sort of tree structure, I need to be able to search for it, find it, and then prune it.
Right.
It
makes sense.
Yeah, that was overcomplicating it. We don't need that.
Yeah.
Right,
Although
right.
with your other idea, someone threw out having a dictionary within a dictionary, then we could store those commit IDs. And if someone was using IDs, if they had a test case like that, then that would potentially handle that situation.
Actually, no, I think this is gonna be good.
I think so.
I think this is gonna be good. I think we're gonna end up needing to modify our getters and setters and unsetters.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, like we don't even need that. We can just do that.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, if that's the case, then we're still on test one, then, right? Because we've changed our data structure. This list isn't going to work for that anymore. So let's just do current equals dot db dot peak.
Yeah. Or counter, right? So if you have a list, right? So imagine you had a list of dictionaries.
No, but if you had A, B, C, if you had A, B, C, and I want C or A, how am I going to get that in the list?
Well, so for a transaction, right? Every time you begin a new transaction, so every time you begin a new transaction, you're essentially adding a new dictionary at the index that you're currently at, right? So if you're, for the first one, you're at index 0. Are we, so, all right, so you don't need to, you can just leave the list empty, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could, but I know I'm going to want at least one dictionary in there at all times. Right.
Right. I think what you can do is like you did over there, start off with the list and the dictionary. And then when you begin a transaction, maybe you copy that dictionary and then you put it on top of the stack,
Yep. And then make the
right?
change to that.
And then you'll just interact with whatever is on top of the stack is what you're interacting with all the time. Until
Yep, that
they
makes,
hit
yeah.
commit, and then when they commit, then you push it down, and if they roll back, then you just pop off the stack, and then you're back to your old state. I think, but then I haven't looked at all the test cases to see if they haven't thrown another whatever, but at least with that, you could easily probably change the behavior.
Dennis, how long did we want to do this? I've missed out the initial 5 minutes. I don't know, did we agree on an hour or more than an hour?
I think the meetup, I think we can just get, I mean, when's it end? 8:30?
Yeah, I think 8:30 is when it ends.
Yeah, we're good. We have time.
Spending more than 45 minutes on this, but we're also like having discussion as we go.
Yep.
Yeah,
We're good.
right.
So
Yeah, that looks good.
I say, Python people, this looks ugly to me. Is there like a nicer way to do that?
You cannot call current. Is there a nicer way to do that? Feeling that's going to error out. Self dot.
I mean, I could always just like do the whole. Yeah, let me just not prematurely like refactor stuff. How about that?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary.
See, and this is why like it takes me forever to do anything because I'm like, this doesn't look nice. Now I have to figure out how to make it look nice.
Right. And don't, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that should have accomplished absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say run the test. Let's make sure
Yeah.
the first is passes.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
There we go. So we're back to you know, where we started. But we're set up to actually do the transactions now.
Right.
So now if we want to begin a new transaction, we just want to do self.db.append. Let's see here. Copy equals let's see, how do we copy a
Wait,
data?
I said copy, but I don't know if we even need to copy, right? If we just,
No.
yeah, we can just use whatever operations we have that you do on a new dictionary. And then if they commit, we'll just propagate those down because all they're doing is unsetting values is the biggest thing they can do.
Right, but they may get a value before they set or unset anything. So we need the existing data to be
Right. Right.
top copy.
Yeah, otherwise it gets to, yeah. Get into
Copy an object using, oh, that doesn't work. Okay, why would you even put that in Python for beginners?
So you can just make the object name equal to the object.
I have no idea what that means.
The copy equals, yeah, it's self dot whatever you're trying to copy.
Oh, that will create a copy, won't create a reference. I've never used Python before.
No,
so-
it doesn't create a reference. Yeah.
Okay.
Like that?
Yeah. No. It just equals current.
So copy equals current. Just
Yeah.
that? And
Yeah.
that'll-
So then updating copy will not update current.
Okay. So that
That is
begins.
sus. Yeah. That is sus.
It just makes me nervous.
Is there no copy operator on the dictionary? It doesn't have that built into it. You just call copy on it and then put that copy on the stack.
I mean,
But I mean, you're saying that works. If it
yeah,
works, it
I mean,
works.
it works.
I don't know.
There is a dot copy according to this poorly written article that we just pulled up. So maybe, but Dennis knows more about Python than I probably ever will. So I'm gonna go with him on this.
Okay.
That makes my Rust go, ooh.
Go. Where are we? Do dict current.
Hey, actually, you know what? We could test this, right? We still have our X here.
Yeah.
Y equals X. Y C equals 10. X C. Oh,
Okay. So
yeah.
do I know I'm blowing it here. So do Y equals dict X.
Oh. I bet that's
Okay.
right. That creates a new one. So now
And
we
then
can,
do Y
well,
equals 50 or something. Or that.
boom.
Yeah.
Okay. So that did it.
There you go. Yeah.
So now rolling back should be pretty trivial, right? We just do a self.db.pop. Well, wait a minute. If there's no ongoing transaction, if self.db.length is less than 2, then raise, is there just like a ridiculous error?
Exception. And then just type what you want.
Don't do stupid.
It'll be len self.db.
There we go. Okay, and it's just Lin.
Yeah. It's
no, it's not a function.
It's len parenthesis self.db.
Oh, it's not a member function.
Right.
I knew that. Like I knew that was going to happen to me at some point. Full disclosure for everybody who doesn't know, my current passion is Julia, which has no member functions. It's not a thing. So I knew that was going to be something I did tonight. Okay. Otherwise, we can do self.db.pop.
Yeah.
Let it go. Okay. I think we can begin, set, get, rollback. Let's
Yeah.
find out.
Try it.
Oh, guys. We're doing something here.
One more. Which one did we fail? Nested commit.
Just nested commit. Oh, buddy.
I think your if statement is just wrong.
No, he's not implemented commit.
Oh yeah, there's no implementation of commit.
Ugh. So test nested commit. Yeah, we don't have a commit. That's fine. We can do this. So we can just do self. That's how I feel right now. Self dot db equals self dot db -1.
Yeah.
Come on, Python, don't let me down.
Wait, we need to do more, right?
Oh, wait, no.
Yeah, because we need to.
Oh, it doesn't
copy-
raise an exception. I didn't-
Yeah.
Test. Python did fine. It was me.
Mhm.
Raise exception if there's no pending transaction. Okay, well then. Can't blame Python for that one. Boom!
Oh, yeah.
Boom.
That's good.
We did it in an hour, ladies and gents.
And even really less than an hour because we talked for 15 minutes.
It's pretty cool.
That
You're great at this whole Python thing.
was cold-blooded. Okay, so I only made it through nested commit, which is like not. I miss the simplicity of like current equals self.db -1. And I went with the approach of having a counter, and I like screwed up my, no, this was nice.
Like, and I mean, and I feel you, because to be quite fair, like in real life, I would have over-engineered this,
Yeah.
right? Like the thing that I did not say while we were doing this, but that I had in the back of my head the whole time was, I'm probably going to need to like store diffs of the
Yeah.
transactions
Yeah.
and like do and undo like these deltas between states. Which
And-
left to
and
my
you-
own devices, that's exactly what I would have tried to do, and it would have taken way more than 45 minutes
Yeah.
in this hour.
That's where I went, and that's where I failed. And this is really nice. This is a really nice solution. Also, good job, everybody. In
I
the
feel like
chat.
this gave me a lot more hints than the interviewer gave him.
It was,
Yeah.
as should be. I'm Python, right? So,
We're
all
on
right.
the team.
I think like the just kind of knowledge part of this, like knowing how a database functions, was basically my big takeaway from that. Plus this is like to just pass the test,
Mhm.
and try to, I think, we had some good input too from Robert Brender on, and you, Eric, on just like troubleshooting or like thinking about just the most straightforward way to approach this with edge cases that you might run into. And arriving at the fact that you could just like pop off the last, you're always just accessing the last entry for your
Right.
transaction.
See,
It's
they
nice.
threw the word nested in there, and that's what I started thinking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spent time writing a dictionary of dictionaries, and the interviewer was like, I did it for a couple minutes, and he was like, you don't want to do that. And I was like, oh no.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And then I started to go down this path and just didn't in time get through the rest of the problems. So yeah, this was
This was fun.
a real deal final round interview question. So
Does anyone on the call have like questions about what we did? Because I know for sure like there are points in this where I was not looking at the clock and just feeling like we've been at this for 2 hours already and trying to kind of move forward. I see.
I do got a question. It's not so much
Yeah.
on the problem, but is this what mob programming is like at tech companies? I mean, do developers get around and solve one problem like this often?
I think it really depends. Go ahead.
If you're doing backend stuff, then yeah, you do run into issues. I mean, you do run into problems like this. I mean, many times. I mean, maybe something not exactly the same, but kind of something similar to this, where you'll have to do of things. I mean, think of it even in terms of UI and front end stuff. Some of this can be like, okay, this is how the UI needs to look, or this is how your DOM tree or things like this need to look. What would manipulating something of that be like?
Yeah.
I don't know if
And
that
it also
exactly answered your question or not, but yeah.
Yeah, and it also depends on how much code you have to write, right? Like if you're creating infrastructure for like teams, like so you're trying to create like reusable components that other team members are going to use. You're going to have to come up with libraries like this, because even though you're picking libraries and you're just getting stuff from the internet, you still create some base code so that everything flows properly for everyone else who's using your code. And so you're going to end up, even though you'll have this already implemented for you from whatever library it is that you're using for your database access or your client code or whatever, a cache, you just want people to be able to interface with it in the same way and not, have to go do some low level stuff.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, like
sure.
At this point. Yeah. So you'll end up doing something kind of similar, I think.
Yeah. And JC, I in a lot of like, so in general work, like I write a lot of code by myself. But like when we have code reviews and we're going over like code reviews and all that stuff, we do hash it out a lot like this. So open discussion, kind of run the code, run it against, why'd you do that? What, this could be a better way, try this way. Just kind of talking through the different methods and disagreeing or like having different opinions and just talking through why one might be better than another. And so yeah, just from that the mob programming kind of perspective, when we do, I'd say for us it's more during code review that we do have situations like this come up. But I don't mob program like day to day for me, and that's like our company. Although it seems helpful. We solved that pretty quickly.
So, my gut feeling is that it's also the sort of thing that gets more and more useful, like the larger your code base gets and the longer it sticks around.
Yeah.
I think probably the best example of like mob, programming or mob tech that I've seen was when I worked for the state of Mississippi. They were, state agency running on a legacy system. They had guys in there writing queries in a language called Natural, which I've never heard of before or since.
Yeah.
They all sat in like a little kind of group in one area of the building. And I would routinely go over there to like ask these guys questions about like where stuff was in the database, how to report on things, et cetera, et cetera. it didn't matter which one I was asking all of them because they could all hear. And like it inevitably, like I'd ask one guy and the other two would like stand up and come over and be like, oh, well, and it's, different people know where different parts, dusty corners are in the database. And so it was,
Right.
combination of just like mobbing and, different pieces of legacy knowledge in different places.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And we have a lot of legacy code too. And that tends to be like, does anybody know if we have something that does this already? And
yeah, that legacy code sticks around. I tell you, man, it never goes. Yeah. I've been working at my company for 13 years. And when I started, that code, there's still code that I wrote like 13 years ago. I had no idea that that application is still being used, and it's used heavily. And you look at what you wrote, 13 years ago, and you're like, man, what was I thinking? But you can't change it. You try and change it, then it's not even worth it. The trouble, you just wait.
It's exactly like the reward, the payoff for, if it's not functionally doing anything new or different or better, like.
Yeah, unless it is some major bug or performance thing that you can improve, it's just never worth touching.
And
that old code.
Internal tooling, like even security updates don't really matter that much.
Right. Right. Especially, for, lockdown, non-web facing products. Like, if they access it, you're already in trouble.
Right.
My shop has a lot of legacy code, but we're still pretty actively discouraged from pairing with more than 2 people at a time.
Do you like that or do you dislike that?
I dislike it. It feels like they think that that's a way to promote efficiency, or they just dislike seeing too many people thrown at the same problem. But I think it's counterproductive, because like you said, when you have a large legacy code base, some people know about some parts and some people know about others. So then you end up like going through the chain of people before you finally find the one that knows something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Does it take one person 3 hours to dig through all the documentation to figure out the answer? Or does it take 3 people 5 minutes because you got the right person in on the conversation?
Yeah.
Sounds like you've been watching us over our shoulder.
Yeah.
And it seems universal.
Yes, universal and painful. And like newer companies are doing, especially like tech-based companies that are like their product is software. I feel like they do a better job of adhering to this stuff, like newer principles like mob programming. They don't have kind of an old school mentality around. Well,
They have to, right?
productivity.
Other than productivity, they have to be efficient. If there's something new that comes up and it's efficient way of doing it, especially like you said, if software is their business, if they can improve the performance, they have to do it. Whereas for someone whose software is not a business, to them it is like things are working, why change it?
Right.
Right. One of the downsides that we've seen is that it seems to reduce the reusability, or reduces the components that we reuse, and we end up duplicating code just because we don't know that something existed that we could have used. So there's
100%.
So there's like no library function.
Absolutely agreed.
So like the collaboration kind of takes the place of a library function, but then when you have neither, then nobody really knows. So I'm like, and now and then stumbling across something that I could have used weeks ago, but instead, I coded it myself.
Right. See if this works.
Hey, there he is.
Well, yeah.
So,
and
go ahead,
Eric.
No, I was just gonna say, so JC, you see how easy and painless that was?
It still feels sort of painful. It still felt painful.
Oh man, that's when you just throw funny comments in. That's all.
Yeah, ease the tension, right? We're trying to get JC in the driver's seat one of these days.
And we've
But
also got
I
about
appreciate it.
3 other possibilities. Definitely want to pass the opportunity around. To Robert, Ant, and Lewis. You guys would like to step in the driver's seat next week? We'd love to have you.
Yeah, sure. I was gonna ask you guys if you've had any experience. It looks like these the big tech companies now are doing this whiteboarding thing where they don't even use a text editor. You're just using like a document editor, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Writing algorithms and that.
Do it in Word.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. Do it in Word. So, I mean, have you guys done any of that before and got into those algorithms? I'm trying to study now, but man, it's tough.
Yeah.
to look at that
Amazon
stuff.
does a so if Amazon does an initial screen of, it's like a leak code problem, you know, and if you pass that, then you have a second interview that's virtual with like a more senior engineer.
Mhm.
And in that interview, they'll ask you to solve a problem just in an editor. And like there aren't, like you have to think about test cases and discuss edge cases and, you know, the trade-offs of the approach you took to solve the problem. So you don't even run real tests, right? Like you're explaining what potentially the challenges are for this problem, and it shows a pretty good understanding of like the whole question. So yeah, you do that. I didn't do the final round interviews with Amazon, but I did the first and second, and it wasn't bad. The second, that one, the leak code questions were harder than the whiteboarding question, and they depending on what role like you're going for, they do care if you write, like if your code would run.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was going for an SC2 role, and then they downgraded me based on the leak code to an SC1 role and asked if I wanted to continue. And so I was treated as an SC1 doing the whiteboarding, the paper, the notepad editor. And the question was like a graph based question, and it wasn't that complicated. For me, this question was harder. And so I had passed that interview, but then I just didn't intend to take the job because I was about to have a kid. And, you know, I just said this is a good stopping point for now. So that's Amazon. And I think the final rounds are probably harder than that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
With our meetups, our lunchtime meetups, we typically do take a more whiteboarding approach to those problems. In fact, we usually set aside the first 30 minutes and we don't open a text editor. Or if we do, it's like plain text. I do a lot of the ones I do in like Inkscape, which is like drawing crap on the screen. And so that's how we approach them. And we spend a good amount of time like telling people like, hey, I'm gonna need you to stop throwing around like programming words and let's talk about like, how would you just solve this problem, right? If you had a box full of whatevers, how would you sort them? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's a big part of like the normal kind of way we do this meetup, and really like the whole deal is aimed at helping people practice for the kind of interviews that Dennis is talking about right there, right?
Yeah, right.
Our position is that it's a lot like public speaking, which is that most people don't feel like they're good at it until they've done it a few times. And you realize, oh, it's not so bad.
Yeah. Very true.
And it is.
Yeah, it's really just to increase comfort. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is naturally nerve-wracking to, like, you know, be trying to solve problems and write code in front of other people. Even, you know, in a group like this where like everybody likes you already. Or if they don't, like, they're not going to say anything. You know,
safe.
Like that's hard enough. So it's a good place to practice.
Yeah. I'll definitely volunteer to help on a Tuesday. It's a noon, right?
Noon Central. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We have some pretty reasonable ones coming up, right? Some pretty, you know, pretty okay ones. Not too tough, not too easy. So yeah.
Yeah. And typically, like, we've got a backlog of puzzles that we go through, but, you know, we work with whoever's driving. One on language. We've done all sorts of languages from C# to Ruby to we did one in Kotlin, a bunch in Java, a bunch of JavaScript, a few Python.
Couple Go.
Probably
Go's been in there, yeah.
Go, yeah. You know.
So yeah, if you do want to drive, just get in touch with one of us and you can let us know like the level that you want to tackle. So I mean, if you want to do a hard coding challenge, we could find, if you want to do a medium coding challenge or, you know, an easy one, like we'll find whatever meets your kind of comfort level with programming and programming in front of people and whatever. We just have fun with it, and we want it to be an enjoyable learning environment.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't know if there's a whole lot else to say about it. It's fun. Like we've done it, what now, 34, 35, 36 times, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming up on the first anniversary, right?
We are, yeah.
Yeah, just gonna celebrate somehow.
We've not had a failure yet.
Or like it never got solved the whole week.
Oh, I mean, we've had a couple where, like, you know, it didn't get solved in the meetup.
In the time, yeah.
But like, even those,